types of growth. How people usually grow. So one type of growth is called as incremental degrowth, which means that you are actually degrowing, but you're degrowing dheere dheere, slowly. And you don't realize, like when Ravi said that after I retired, I don't feel like I'm in a great state today. It's because slowly and steadily that degrowth has happened. It didn't happen in one day. If you're a muscle man and you don't work out, what happens to you over a period of time? The muscles go, right? Only if you're working, it's going to grow. But if you leave it, it goes down because gravity is natural. So for a lot of people who are not actively growing, if you're not actively trying to grow, if you're just letting your life be, if you're just living, taking it day at a time, taking a little bit of effort here and there, and growth is never a linear line. It's always zigzag, 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 right? Some days up, some days down, some days good, some days bad. It's never the same, right? So I've shown that some days will go up, down, but in incremental degrowth, the direction is downwards. You'll have your ups also, downs also. You'll have certain achievements. But if you look at your graph overall, you'll realize that, hey, listen, I am professionally or personally or as a person or in my peace of mind or my relationships, everything seems to have gone slightly down. It didn't happen probably in a day. And because it happens slowly, you don't even realize it is happening. It's the worst thing. And also, what is the thing? Stagnation leads to degrowth. So stagnation doesn't mean you're going to stay. What do we think stagnation means? कि मैं कुछ नहीं करूंगा तो भी I will stay in the place I am. But it's not true. If you don't do anything, you don't stay where you are. If you don't do it, if you don't exercise, do you stay as healthy as you are today? No, your health will suddenly next test, something will go bad, BP will be high, or something would have happened, some allergy starts, some health issues happen because you did not actively take care of your health. If you do not actively take care of your children, or you do not actively engage in your work and try to grow in your work, you'll realize that you stop making that much revenue, you realize you're not getting as many clients. So incremental degrowth is the natural way of being. Okay. And it has the highest risk factor. If you look at risk factor, why are people scared of growing? Because they think it's risky. People think growth is risky. I have to do this. I have to probably overcome my limitations. I have to start using technology again. Ravi, I have to learn so many things. What if I'm not able to learn? What if I'm, feel stupid when I'm trying to learn new things? What if people laugh at me? What if I don't get the results? So we ask ourselves questions like this, which leads to us not taking any action, and we think growing is risky. But truth is that incremental degrowth is the most riskiest, because short term, are you happy? No, you're living in struggle. Day in and day out struggle in your relationships, in every aspect, it's a struggle. Is it going to give you anything long term? No, you're going downwards, which means that, can you imagine long term where you're going to reach? The longer you wait to start growing, the more lower you're going to go. So not doing anything, not taking action and settling for less is the highest and most riskiest proposition in one's life. Now you might say, no, that doesn't happen. How does that happen? Because inflation happens, depreciation happens, corona happens, wars happen, right? Diseases happen. These things happen in life. We don't have to choose them. You're sitting nicely, sweetly, doing nothing like an innocent little child also. These things are going to affect us, which means that this degrowth will happen, and it's the most risky place to be. Imagine you're in this place and something goes wrong in life. You have the least energy, least resources, least money in your bank account, least of everything to deal with those difficulties. Now, I'm sure none of you are here and you don't want to be here as well. Okay. So the second is incremental growth. This is the second way of growing. This is where most people settle. This is where they are, right? This kind of growth is where you're taking incremental efforts. Thoda idhar, thoda udhar, little changes, little exercise, little bit of this, a little bit of that. And at least let me do something kind of a. I say that something is better than nothing. But remember, something is better than nothing mantra is a very short-term mantra. It's not something you can live all your life with. Something is better. My wife wants me to be romantic and loving. I'll give her a rose once a year. Something is better than nothing, Seema said. That is not going to be enough, right? Short term, if you're stuck, you can't do too many things and do something better than nothing. But as you progress, you got to gain momentum, right? Now, incremental growth is better than incremental degrowth. That is for sure. However, it needs immense hard work. It needs day in and day out attention, hard work, conscious work, and slowly growing also, which means that you will constantly keep dropping. When you don't see results, when you don't see that, that boost, if it doesn't come quickly, you tend to give up more easily, isn't it? That I'm not seeing that greater, even the growth is very negligible. It's not so visible to the eyes. 5-10 years, yes, you have grown, but it's not anything, substantial, right? So it needs a lot of active sustenance, lot of active hard work, and it's very susceptible to external factors. You'll keep getting derailed again and again by health issues. You'll get derailed by demotivation. You'll get derailed by family. You'll get derailed by circumstances around you. So it's a difficult place to be. It's better than degrowth, but it's a difficult place to be, okay? So when you say that, Seema, should I slow down? Yes, you should slow down sometimes. Yes, you should slow down momentarily. You should not slow down for good. So why do we take words so literally? When we say 10x faster, doesn't mean you're not going to rest ever and you're going to kill yourself. Similarly, when we say you need to rest, you need to do, doesn't mean that you're going to spoil yourself so much that you stop working at all and you forget about your goals. So everything is about balance. Does that make sense to everybody? Kind of sinking in. So the second place is better, but still not the best place, because here again, you're going to be affected by, because it is like having just enough money in your bank account. You have just enough money. Imagine incremental growth to be like having just enough money in your bank account. You can survive, you can take care of your day-to-day expenses, but one emergency and it'll kill. Does that make sense? So again, being here is not the best place overall. And many of you are aiming, I think most of you are aiming at at exponential growth or leapfrog growth. This is where ideally everybody should aim at, right? Now, why leapfrog growth? Why is it important to do leapfrog growth? Now, you will see the pattern that even in leapfrog growth, you're not going one straight line. Even in that, you're not going in a straight line. Even in that, you're going up and down, which means some days will be up, some days will be down, some days will be difficult, some days will be awesome. But you realize that you are progressing quickly. The chart is like going like that. You realize, oh my God, 6 months, so much has happened. Like just day before yesterday, I met Muskan. She's one of my students 3 years ago. I give her an example a lot, right? So I had met her 3 days ago. She had come down to Ahmedabad and she said, ma'am, I want to meet you. So I went and met her in a coffee shop and we were discussing her growth. Forget about 3 years. She says that after she finished the practitioner, in the first 6 months itself, she was able to decide on her career, set her entire company, start couple of centers of public speaking training. She became a brand name in Siliguri. She became a social media influencer in a period of 6 months' time. Just like leapfrog for a 22-year-old who didn't know what to do in her life. And today, 3 years down the line, she's running 6 profitable centers. She's also starting NLP training. She's become an NLP coach. She's starting NLP training under my mentorship. So her growth in 3 years is like what other people would achieve in 15 years. She's achieved in 3 years. Now, this kind of growth sounds very, can anybody give me a word for it? It sounds very, come on. Exciting, yes, but there's one feeling comes in when you think of this kind of growth. Sorry? What, Sheetal?
Astonishing.
Astonishing, exciting. But it's also...
Sounds very untrue.
Okay, very nice. Awesome. It sounds untrue. Okay, what else? Come on.
Risky.
Possible.
Magical.
Risky. Okay, risky.
Magical.
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 Magical. Okay, I'm loving these positive words, but I'm hearing also words that are actual feelings from people. Untrue, somebody said, and somebody else said risky. Give me more words. What about stressful? What about scary?
Overwhelming.
Overwhelming. Very nice. And I love the honesty, and it happens. It is just by hearing and listening to this can be super freaking scary that, oh, to grow like this, imagine the amount of things I will have to do. Will I be able to manage my family? Do I have the energy to do this? Will I lose balance in my life? Will I lose perspective? Will I not give time to my family? What will happen to my children? Right? So there are, for leapfrog growth, the most important factor over here is yourself, your belief. Because one, if you don't believe it's going to happen, it's not going to happen. Take it in writing. Okay. It has happened to me. It has happened to many of our practitioners. And every inner circle we hear people's breakthrough stories. But it needs immense amount of inner strength to do leapfrog growth. But also, do you know, and I'm telling you, you might be shocked when I say this, leapfrog growth is the easiest kind of growth. It is the easiest kind of growth. You know why? Because the first two are freaking stressful. Tell me, is being mediocre, struggling with the different areas of your life, trying to grow more difficult, or being creative, resources, getting quick results in your life, and everything is tuck, falling into place, and you're feeling amazing about yourself, and you're growing, and you're taking action, and you're getting results? Does that sound more stressful to you? Or, because I'm telling you out of experience, I am not stressed at all as a person, and we work hard. Vimal and I work like supremely hard, okay? But we don't get stressed. We're having fun. We're actually enjoying it, and we're creating, brainstorming, coming up with new things, attending workshops, we're doing things, we're giving, and it's so exhilarating. In reality, that is the least stressful place to be. When Corona hit, it was the poor, the mediocre, the people who don't have things in their life who were stressed the most. Those who had the money, had the space, had the resources, were skilled, were able to do, had no problem. So when you are in that kind of growth, right? When others are going through challenges, you are actually reaping a lot of benefits. So one has to choose, do I want to be here, struggle all my life, or do I have to be there? That said, is it going to be stressful? That depends on how you do it. Okay. So how to make your leapfrog growth less stressful, make it more seamless. One, leapfrog growth can be driven only by tools and strategies. You can't do it without the right tools, like tools to stay in a peak performance state, tools to influence others. You should know how you can subconsciously just influence, get people around to change, because most of the times we're stuck with resistance of people around us, right? How to do that. And you will learn a lot of that in the practitioner, but actively using, actually changing, using those techniques. Even when you're doing, like I'm doing leapfrog growth, doesn't mean I don't have balance in my life. We have a fair amount of fun. We vacation, we are having a good time, we're creating more flexibility for ourselves. Every area, health, we exercise, we give time to what is important in our life, we eat well. So while we are growing like that, we are focused on balancing everything that's important all the time. You can't forget one thing or the other. And living that kind of a life is easy because you're happy, everything is balanced. It's a happy place. If you're imbalanced, it's a horrible place to be. So don't binge eat so much. Sorry, don't diet so much that you do binge eating later.
Yeah, okay.
Makes sense? So do it in such a way it's sustainable to you long term. So you don't have to change anything drastically. There are phases of growth also. Even to get to leapfrog growth, there are phases your mind and body has to go through. There's a conditioning that needs to happen. So when you go through the practitioner, internal changes will happen, conditioning will happen, a lot of beliefs, internal limitations will be broken through. You'll get a lot of internal resources and commands, which makes you think differently. And as you progress, things will get easier. When it comes to leapfrog growth, remember that this kind of growth requires you to be like that Hanuman. It requires you to be very, very strong within. It requires you to be consistent. It requires you to stay in peak state. It requires you to be creative, resourceful, happy, influential, etc., which means learning, getting upskilled, getting more distinctions. Leapfrog growth doesn't happen to everybody, cannot happen to everybody. It happens to people who are constantly working and are powerful. And it is a good, fun, happy place to be. It's not a stressful place to be. It's actually the most safest place to be this kind of a person, right? So for the person who is growing like this, growth comes easy and seamlessly. Growth doesn't come difficult. Sometimes you drop, but then because you pick up so quickly and you're creative and you're resourceful, you end up growing a lot faster, right? And leapfrog growth will need short-term work, but it has no long-term risk. No risk at all. Because you're always way ahead of your competitors or the market or people around you. You're way ahead of yourself. You are proactively building your life. If you want to understand this a little better, incremental growth is like a savings account in your bank, which is giving you 2, 3, 4, 8% returns, which is really not enough to sustain what's happening in the world. Whereas leapfrog growth is like compounded interest. Everything you put in compounds. Have you heard of the concept money makes money? If you, let us say, had 1 crore in your account in the last 6 months with the way the stock market has been growing, if you already had that money, you could have double, tripled that in the last 6 months. But if you did not have the money at all, how do you double and triple it? Does it make sense to you? So compounded interest is like whatever your relationships, your children, your health, your passion, your growth, everything returns start coming in a magnitude over a period of time, double, triple, it just automatically happens. It's like the Chinese bamboo tree. In the first 5 years of its life, it grows only 5 feet tall. Only 5 feet tall in the first 5 years of its life. But if you consistently nurture it, keep putting effort, keep going there, suddenly, once it gets into leapfrog, right, in the next 6 months, it grows to over 50 feet tall. Suddenly. That is leapfrog growth. Okay. And for those who say stress and ask questions like, oh my God, Seema, I'm feeling burnt out, etc., etc. Please remember, you are a machine. Okay. Don't push yourself so much that you are going to collapse. Everything needs to be done in balance. Even in leapfrog growth, you can take rest, you can have fun, you can go for a vacation, you can spend time with your family, you can be human. You don't have to be, even PT Usha cannot run, or Usain Bolt cannot run non-stop without a break. Okay, so that's the only thing you need to remember. If you remember this, go through the practitioner diligently, do all the activities, do all the visualizations and everything that I've said, and you will be very quickly getting into this growth phase and easily and happily and seamlessly. Okay, so growth must not be stressful. Growth is a beautiful, fun journey.